One of the most important yet overlooked aspects of responding to a hug is understanding that the most memorable moments are usually the most natural ones. Many people become so focused on making a strong impression that they start overthinking every detail. They wonder how long to hold the hug, what expression to make, what to say afterward, or how to create a lasting emotional impact. Ironically, this overthinking often creates tension that takes away from the genuine connection the hug was meant to create. The secret is much simpler. Match his energy and allow the moment to feel authentic. Human beings are naturally drawn to emotional harmony. When two people are comfortable with each other, their body language often reflects a similar emotional rhythm. If a hug feels warm and sincere, responding with the same warmth creates a sense of balance. If the hug is gentle and comforting, matching that gentle energy makes the interaction feel natural. This emotional alignment helps both people feel understood without needing to say a single word. The psychology behind this is fascinating. People tend to remember how someone made them feel more than they remember the specific details of what happened. A hug that feels genuine creates emotional comfort because it communicates acceptance, trust, and connection. When your response matches the emotional tone of the moment, the experience feels effortless. There is no awkwardness, no confusion, and no sense that one person is trying too hard. Instead, the interaction feels real. One common mistake people make is overreacting in an attempt to create a stronger impression. They may force exaggerated enthusiasm, become overly dramatic, or respond in a way that does not match the emotional situation. While the intention may be good, the result can feel unnatural. Most people are surprisingly sensitive to authenticity. When something feels forced, even slightly, it can create emotional distance rather than connection. On the other hand, when you respond naturally, you create emotional comfort. A man is more likely to remember a hug that felt genuine than one that carefully calculated. Comfort is powerful because it allows people to relax. They feel accepted rather than judged. They feel connected rather than evaluated. These positive emotions often leave a deeper impression than any specific action could. Matching energy also demonstrates emotional awareness. It shows that you are present in the moment rather than focused entirely on yourself. Instead of thinking about how you are being perceived, you are paying attention to the interaction itself. This creates a sense of mutual connection because both people are sharing the same emotional experience rather than performing for one another. Another reason this approach is so effective is that it builds trust. Relationships are strengthened when people feel that interactions are genuine. Trust grows through consistency and authenticity, not through perfection. When your response feels natural, it communicates confidence. You are not trying to impress him. You are simply allowing the moment to unfold honestly. That confidence is often far more attractive than any attempt to create a flawless impression. It is also important to remember that warmth does not require grand gestures. Sometimes a simple, comfortable response is enough. The most meaningful hugs often feel memorable because of the emotions they create, not because of anything dramatic that happened. The sense of comfort, ease, and connection becomes the part that stays in someone's memory. Ultimately, a hug is a form of nonverbal communication. It conveys feelings that words often cannot express. When your response reflects the same warmth and sincerity that you are receiving, the message becomes clear. You are present, you are comfortable, you are genuine, and those qualities tend to leave a lasting emotional impression. Because in the end, the hugs people remember most are rarely the ones that felt perfect. They are the ones that felt real. Sometimes the smallest moments create the biggest emotional impact. When it comes to a hug, many people assume that what makes it memorable is the intensity, the romance, or some dramatic gesture. But in reality, human connection often works in much subtler ways. One of the most powerful things you can do is simply hold the hug for one extra meaningful second before letting go. It sounds simple, yet that brief moment can communicate warmth, trust, comfort, and emotional connection more effectively than a long conversation ever could. Most hugs follow a predictable rhythm. Two people embrace, hold for a brief moment, and then separate. The interaction is pleasant, but it often passes quickly. However, when a hug lingers for just one natural extra second, something different happens. The moment feels more intentional. It feels less like a routine gesture and more like a genuine expression of connection. That tiny pause can transform an ordinary hug into a memorable experience. because it creates an emotional feeling rather than simply a physical interaction. The psychology behind this is surprisingly powerful. Human beings are highly sensitive to emotional cues. We often interpret meaning through body language, timing, and nonverbal communication. A slightly longer hug communicates comfort, appreciation, and affection without a single word being spoken. It tells the other person that you are not rushing through the moment. You are present in it. You are allowing yourself to fully experience the connection instead of immediately moving on to the next thing. What makes this especially meaningful is that it creates a feeling of emotional safety. Many people go through their daily lives feeling rushed, distracted, and emotionally guarded. A warm hug that lasts just a little longer than expected can provide a rare moment of comfort. It allows both people to feel seen and appreciated. Even if the pause lasts only a second, it can leave a lasting impression because of the emotions it creates. Of course, the key is authenticity. This is not about forcing an extended embrace or creating an uncomfortable situation. The extra second should feel natural and appropriate to the relationship in the moment. When it happens organically, it feels effortless. There is no awkwardness, no pressure, and no need to overthink it. The power comes from sincerity, not duration. Another reason this works is that memorable experiences often stand out because they are slightly different from the norm. Most interactions are predictable. People follow familiar patterns and routines. A hug that includes a briefest moment of extra warmth creates a subtle emotional contrast. It stands out because it feels more meaningful than expected. The mind naturally remembers experiences that create positive emotions, especially when those emotions are unexpected. This additional moment also allows emotions to settle. Instead of the interaction ending abruptly, there is a brief pause where both people can simply enjoy the connection. In a world where conversations are often rushed and attention is constantly divided, these small moments of presence can feel surprisingly powerful. They communicate care without requiring explanation. A man is unlikely to remember every word spoken during a casual conversation, but he is much more likely to remember how a particular interaction made him feel. If a hug leaves him feeling appreciated, comfortable, and emotionally connected, that feeling tends to stay with him long after the moment has passed. Emotions create memories, and meaningful physical connection often strengthens those emotional impressions. The beauty of this approach is its simplicity. There is no need for complicated strategies or perfectly chosen words. A genuine moment of warmth often has more impact than anything carefully planned. The extra second is not powerful because of the time itself. It is powerful because of what it communicates: presence, comfort, and emotional connection. And sometimes that one quiet extra second says more to a man's heart than an entire conversation ever could. A hug may last only a few seconds, but what happens immediately afterward can often determine how the entire moment is remembered. Many people focus so much on the hug itself that they overlook the emotional impact of the seconds that follow. Yet those brief moments can leave a lasting impression. One of the most powerful things you can do after a hug is make genuine eye contact and offer a warm, sincere smile. It is simple, natural, and incredibly effective because it reinforces the emotional connection that the hug just created. Human beings communicate far more through nonverbal signals than they often realize. Long before words are spoken, people are constantly reading facial expressions, body language, tone of voice, and eye contact. These subtle cues help us determine whether someone is comfortable, genuine, interested, or emotionally present. After a hug, eye contact and a smile act as a bridge between physical connection and emotional connection. They tell the other person that the moment mattered to you and that you are fully present rather than distracted or emotionally distant. The psychology behind this is fascinating. Eye contact is one of the strongest forms of nonverbal communication. It creates a sense of attention and connection because it signals that you are focused on the person in front of you. When combined with a genuine smile, it often creates feelings of warmth, acceptance, and appreciation. People naturally feel more comfortable around those who make them feel seen and valued. A simple smile after a hug can communicate those feelings without requiring a single word. What makes this especially memorable is that it feels authentic. Many people are accustomed to surface-level interactions where people rush through conversations, check their phones, or move quickly from one task to another. Genuine presence has become surprisingly rare. When someone takes a moment to look at you warmly and smile sincerely, It stands out because it feels real. It creates an emotional memory rather than just a physical one. A man may not consciously analyze why a particular hug stayed in his mind, but he often remembers the feeling it created. The smile afterward can play a major role in that feeling. It transforms the interaction from a simple gesture into a meaningful exchange. Instead of ending abruptly, the moment concludes with warmth and positivity, leaving a lasting emotional impression. Another important reason this works is that smiles are emotionally contagious. Research has shown that people naturally respond to positive facial expressions. When someone smiles genuinely, it often triggers positive emotions in the other person as well. This creates an association between you and those good feelings. Over time, people tend to gravitate toward individuals who consistently make them feel comfortable, appreciated, and happy. The key here is sincerity. A forced smile or exaggerated reaction rarely creates the same effect. Most people can sense authenticity. A genuine smile comes from a place of comfort and emotional presence. It is not performed to impress someone. It happens naturally, because you are enjoying the interaction and appreciating the moment. That authenticity is what makes it memorable. Eye contact also communicates confidence. It shows that you are comfortable with the connection and comfortable with yourself. Confidence is attractive because it creates a sense of ease. Instead of appearing nervous, uncertain, or overly concerned about making an impression, you appear relaxed and genuine. This allows the interaction to feel effortless, which often makes it more enjoyable for both people. Perhaps most importantly, these few seconds after the hug create emotional closure. Rather than ending the interaction abruptly, they allow the connection to settle. They give both people a moment to acknowledge what was shared before moving on. This simple pause often strengthens the emotional impact of the entire experience, because in the end, people rarely remember a hug only for the embrace itself. They remember the warmth, the feeling, and the smile that made the moment feel special. One of the most memorable things you can do after a hug is say something that makes a man feel genuinely seen and appreciated. While many people focus on appearance, charm, or trying to say something impressive, what often leaves the deepest impact is much simpler. Human beings have a natural desire to feel valued. They want to know that who they are, what they do, and how they show up in the world matters to someone. When a hug is followed by a sincere comment that acknowledges something meaningful about him, the emotional effect can last far longer than the hug itself. Many men go through life carrying responsibilities, pressures, and expectations that are rarely discussed. They work hard, solve problems, support others, and often keep their struggles private. Yet, despite these efforts, genuine appreciation is something they may receive less often than people realize. Compliments are nice, but appreciation goes deeper. A compliment might focus on what someone has. Appreciation focuses on who someone is. This distinction matters because people tend to remember those who make them feel understood. Anyone can say something generic, but when you acknowledge a quality that reflects his character, values, or efforts, it creates a stronger emotional connection. For example, recognizing his kindness, reliability, patience, sense of humor, determination, or the way he makes others feel can have a profound impact because it shows that you notice things beyond the surface. The psychology behind this is powerful. Human beings are naturally drawn toward people who make them feel valued. When someone feels seen, they experience a sense of emotional validation. They feel understood rather than overlooked. They feel appreciated rather than taken for granted. These positive emotions become associated with the person who created them, which is one reason meaningful appreciation tends to be remembered long after the moment has passed. Imagine the difference between hearing a routine comment and hearing something that reflects genuine observation. One feels polite. The other feels personal. When a man realizes that you notice qualities that others often overlook, it creates a unique emotional impression. He begins to feel that you see him as a person rather than simply as a role, an appearance, or a collection of achievements. Timing also plays an important role. After a hug, emotions are often more open and accessible. Physical connection can create a sense of warmth and closeness, making the moment feel more genuine. A sincere comment delivered during that emotional window can have a stronger effect because it feels connected to the experience rather than separate from it. The hug creates the emotional atmosphere, and the words reinforce it. What makes this especially effective is that it is not about flattery. Excessive praise can sometimes feel forced or insincere. Genuine appreciation is different because it comes from a place of honesty. It is specific. It reflects something you truly admire or value. People can usually sense the difference. Authenticity creates trust, while exaggeration often creates doubt. Another reason appreciation is so powerful is that it encourages emotional safety. When someone feels valued for who they are rather than what they can provide, they become more comfortable being themselves. This creates a stronger foundation for connection because both people feel accepted rather than evaluated. Relationships thrive when people feel respected and appreciated for their authentic selves. Over time, these moments of genuine recognition become meaningful memories. A man may forget many of the casual conversations he has throughout the week, but he often remembers the rare moments when someone made him feel truly seen. Those moments stand out because they fulfill a deep emotional need that many people carry quietly. The truth is that staying on someone's mind is rarely about saying the perfect thing. It is about creating a feeling that lingers after the interaction ends. When a man feels appreciated, respected, and understood, that feeling tends to stay with him long after the words themselves are forgotten. And sometimes the comment he remembers most is the one that reminded him that someone genuinely noticed the person he is beneath everything else. One of the biggest mistakes people make after a meaningful hug or emotional moment is believing they need to immediately do more. They think they need to say something extraordinary, send multiple messages, seek reassurance, or find a way to keep the interaction going. But often the exact opposite is true. If you want to leave a lasting impression, one of the most powerful things you can do is leave him with positive emotions rather than neediness. The goal is not to make him feel responsible for your happiness. The goal is to make him associate your presence with warmth, confidence, and emotional comfort. Human psychology is deeply influenced by emotional associations. People naturally move toward experiences that make them feel good and away from experiences that create pressure or emotional exhaustion. This does not mean they avoid responsibility or meaningful relationships. It simply means that the emotions connected to a person often influence how strongly they look forward to seeing them again. When someone consistently leaves you feeling appreciated, relaxed, and uplifted, you naturally want more of those experiences. After a hug, emotions are often heightened. There is a feeling of connection, comfort, and closeness. What happens next can either strengthen that positive feeling or weaken it. If someone immediately becomes anxious, seeks constant validation, or starts questioning the interaction, the emotional atmosphere can quickly change. Instead of leaving behind warmth, they leave behind pressure. Instead of creating a memory of connection, they create a memory of emotional responsibility. This is why confidence matters so much. Confidence is not about acting indifferent or pretending not to care. It is about feeling secure enough to enjoy the moment without needing immediate confirmation of what it meant. A confident person allows positive experiences to exist without trying to force them into something more. They appreciate the connection, enjoy the moment, and then continue living their life with a sense of emotional balance. The psychology behind this is simple. People are attracted to emotional stability because it feels safe. When someone appears comfortable with themselves, they create an environment where others can relax as well. There is no pressure to constantly reassure them. There is no feeling that every interaction must carry enormous emotional weight. Instead, the connection feels natural and enjoyable. A man is far more likely to remember someone who left him feeling good than someone who left him feeling overwhelmed. This is not because he lacks compassion. It is because emotions leave impressions. If a hug is followed by warmth, positivity, and genuine confidence, that emotional experience becomes associated with you. Every time he thinks about the interaction, he remembers how comfortable and enjoyable it felt. Another important aspect of this principle is self-respect. When you allow a meaningful moment to stand on its own, you communicate that you value yourself. You are not desperately trying to extract reassurance from every interaction. You are not measuring your worth by someone else's immediate reaction. Instead, you trust the connection enough to let it breathe. That quiet confidence is often incredibly attractive because it reflects emotional maturity. Positive emotions are also memorable because they create anticipation. When someone leaves an interaction feeling energized, appreciated, or happy, they often look forward to experiencing that feeling again. they begin associating you with emotional comfort and positivity. This creates a natural desire to reconnect because the experience itself was rewarding. It is important to understand that staying on someone's mind is not about making them obsess over you. It is about creating a positive emotional memory. The people we remember most fondly are often those who made us feel good about ourselves, comfortable in their presence, and appreciated for who we are. And when a man walks away from a hug feeling lighter, happier, and emotionally at peace, the memory of you often stays with him far longer than you realize. One of the most underrated secrets to staying on someone's mind is knowing when to stop. Many people believe that after a meaningful moment, they need to keep the momentum going at all costs. If the hug felt special, they immediately want a text. If the connection felt strong, they want reassurance. If emotions were shared, they want confirmation that the other person felt the same thing. While these reactions are understandable, they often overlook a powerful truth about human psychology. Meaningful experiences need space to settle. Think about some of the most memorable moments in your life. Often, what made them memorable was not what happened immediately afterward. It was the time you had to reflect on them. The memory lingered because there was room for it to breathe. Your mind revisited the experience, replayed certain details, and allowed the emotions connected to it to grow. Relationships often work in a similar way. When a hug creates genuine warmth and connection, the experience has already done its job. The emotional impact exists. The feeling is there. But if someone immediately starts flooding the other person with messages, questions, or attempts to recreate the moment, they can unintentionally interrupt the natural process that makes memories meaningful. Instead of allowing the experience to settle, they replace it with urgency and pressure. The human mind tends to hold on to experiences that feel emotionally significant. A meaningful hug can create comfort, attraction, trust, appreciation, or affection. Those emotions do not disappear the moment the hug ends. In fact, they often become stronger during the hours and days that follow, because the brain continues processing them. This is why giving the memory space can be so effective. You are allowing the emotional experience to mature naturally instead of forcing additional interaction. There is also a psychological principle at work here. People tend to value experiences more when they have time to think about them. Reflection deepens emotional impact. When a man leaves a positive interaction and returns to his normal routine, his mind may unexpectedly revisit the moment. He may remember how comfortable the hug felt. He may recall your smile, your energy, or the way the interaction made him feel. These thoughts occur naturally because there is space for them to occur. What often weakens this process is over-pursuit. When someone immediately seeks constant reassurance, they shift attention away from the positive experience itself. Instead of remembering the warmth of the moment, the other person may become focused on responding, explaining, or managing expectations. The emotional simplicity that made the interaction special becomes complicated by unnecessary pressure. This is why confidence is so important. Confidence allows you to trust that a meaningful moment does not need to be constantly reinforced. It allows you to enjoy the experience without demanding immediate proof of its significance. A confident person understands that connection is not strengthened by chasing every emotion. Sometimes it is strengthened by allowing those emotions to develop naturally. Another beautiful aspect of letting the memory breathe is that it demonstrates independence. It shows that your entire emotional state is not dependent on what happens next. You appreciated the hug. You enjoyed the connection. And now you are comfortable continuing with your life. This creates a healthy emotional dynamic because it communicates self-respect and balance. People are often drawn to those who have their own lives, interests, goals, and sense of fulfillment. When you do not immediately cling to every meaningful interaction, you show that your happiness comes from within rather than from constant external validation. That quiet confidence often leaves a stronger impression than any follow-up message ever could. The irony is that many people try so hard to stay on someone's mind that they accidentally make themselves easier to forget. The most memorable individuals are often those who create a positive emotional experience and then allow it to stand on its own. They trust the connection enough to leave it undisturbed, because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do after a meaningful hug is nothing at all, allowing the memory to settle naturally until it becomes something he keeps returning to in his own thoughts.